She texted, "I need space for a while." I replied, "Perfect." What she didn't know was that I'd been tracking her bank transfers to his account for weeks. I watched Emma from my position at the kitchen counter, laptop open, pretending to debug code while she stuffed designer clothes into her overnight bag. The Prada handbag, the one I'd bought her for our second anniversary, dangled from her shoulder like a trophy of my stupidity. $2,000 for Italian leather that would carry the tools of my betrayal. "It's not permanent," she said, not meeting my eyes while folding a black lace teddy I'd never seen before. "I just need to figure some things out. You understand, right?" Translation: I need to keep sleeping with my boss while maintaining access to our joint checking account and the comfortable lifestyle you provide. Emma had always been beautiful in that calculated way. Everything measured, everything strategic, everything expensive. Her auburn hair fell in perfect waves because she spent $200 every month at that salon downtown, the one that served champagne while they highlighted her roots. Her nails were always immaculate because she had standing appointments twice a week at some place in the Pearl District that charged $60 for what used to be called a manicure, all funded by my 60-hour work weeks while she played marketing director at Tyler's boutique tech startup, the kind of company that burned through investor money on kombucha fountains and meditation pods. "Take your time," I said, fingers dancing across the keyboard. On screen, our banking app showed the damage in real time, a slow hemorrhage of my earnings flowing into someone else's account. "I'll be here when you're ready." The irony wasn't lost on me. I was debugging actual code while watching my marriage decompose in systematic patterns that would make any programmer weep. Emma grabbed her yoga mat, another prop in her elaborate performance, and that expensive water bottle that cost more than most people's daily wage. "I'll call you," she said, shouldering her bag with practiced casualness. "We can talk about everything when I'm ready." The door clicked shut with that expensive, solid sound of our downtown loft. 1,200 square feet of exposed brick and industrial lighting that I'd been paying for since we moved in 2 years ago. The mortgage was in my name because Emma's credit score had too many shopping-related dings. The utilities were in my name because I was the responsible one. Even the parking space was in my name because the building management preferred dealing with someone who actually showed up to sign paperwork. But the joint checking account? That had both our names on it. Emma had insisted on that detail during our first year of marriage. "We're partners," she'd said. "What's mine is yours, what's yours is mine." Apparently, she'd taken that philosophy more seriously than I had. I opened the banking app and scrolled through 6 weeks of systematic theft. $12,000. Transferred in small amounts over 6 weeks, always careful, always calculated. My loving wife had been funding her affair with our money, and she'd been smart about it. The amounts were surgical, never more than 300 at a time, never on the same day of the week, always with vague descriptions that wouldn't trigger automatic fraud alerts. Cash withdrawal, personal transfer, miscellaneous expense, emergency fund access. Tyler Brooks, vice president of sales, Emma's boss, Emma's lover, and now, apparently, Emma's well-funded sugar baby. I leaned back in my chair and smiled for the first time in months. Emma thought she was playing chess, but she'd been playing checkers, and I'd been watching every move. "I need everything," I told Dean Blake, private investigator, ex-cop, and the kind of man who made his living documenting other people's failures. His office smelled like coffee and disappointment. "Everything means everything," Dean said, sliding a contract across his desk. "Photos, financial records, communications, travel patterns. It gets expensive. Money's not an issue." I signed the contract. "How long?" 2 weeks for a complete picture. While Dean did his work, I maintained the performance of normalcy. I showed up to the office, wrote code, attended meetings, and pretended I gave a damn about quarterly projections. My co-workers offered sympathy about my separation with awkward enthusiasm. "Taking some space to work on ourselves," I'd say with a practiced smile. Very mutual. The truth was more interesting. Emma had been working late with Tyler 3 nights a week for 8 months. She'd purchased lingerie from Victoria's Secret, charged to our joint credit card, that I'd never seen her wear. Hotel room service at the Kimpton Monaco appeared on our statements every Tuesday and Thursday, always for 2 people, always expensive. But the real revelation came during week 2. Tyler's married, Dean said, sliding a folder across his desk. Wife's name is Catherine Brooks. 2 kids, 8 and 10, owns a house in Lake Oswego worth $1.2 million. I opened the folder. Photos of Tyler with his family at school events, grocery stores, soccer games, the perfect suburban father performance. There's more, Dean said. Catherine Brooks isn't just wealthy. She's old Portland money. Her investment firm, Brooks Capital, holds major stakes in dozens of local tech companies. Including Tyler's company? 40% ownership stake. She's basically his boss. I studied the photos of Catherine, elegant, sharp-eyed, the kind of woman who'd built wealth instead of inheriting it. And Emma's friend Nicole? Providing alibis. Girls' nights out, book clubs, yoga classes. She's been covering for Emma since this started. I closed the folder. I'll need copies of everything. Already made. Dean handed me a flash drive. And Jake? Tyler's wife isn't the type to take this quietly. When she finds out, and she will, it's going to get ugly fast. Tyler's wife wasn't just wealthy, she controlled 40% of our company's funding. This was about to get interesting. The beauty of systematic destruction is in the details, and I'd always been good with details. While Emma played house with Tyler at the Monaco, I played chess with our finances, our property, and our future. First, the house. The mortgage had always been in my name. Emma's credit wasn't good enough when we bought it, thanks to some college-era credit card adventures she'd never fully explained. A quick trip to my lawyer brother David's office, and the deed was officially transferred to my name alone. Legal, clean, irreversible. You sure about this? David asked, notarizing the papers in his downtown office that cost more per square foot than most people's entire apartments. He was younger than me but acted older, the way lawyers do when they think they understand life better than everyone else. Marriage is community property in Oregon. She could fight this in court. She could try. I pocketed the documents that had just made me the sole owner of our $800,000 loft. But she'd need to explain where $12,000 of community funds went first, and I don't think that conversation would go well for her. David leaned back in his leather chair and studied me with the expression he used when he was deciding whether to take a case. You've changed, Jake. You used to be the forgive and forget type. People change when they discover their spouse has been stealing from them to fund an affair. Fair enough. He signed the final document. Just remember that revenge has a way of getting expensive even when you win. Next, the money. I liquidated our joint savings, $38,000 that represented 2 years of careful budgeting and overtime work, and transferred it to my personal account. I canceled Emma's access to our credit cards, closed the joint checking account, and opened a new one in my name only. Emma's monthly automatic payments for her gym membership, salon appointments, car insurance, and that expensive subscription box service that delivered organic skincare products would start bouncing by Friday. Her yoga studio membership, her massage therapy sessions, her standing appointment for weekly house cleaning, all of it would come to a sudden, embarrassing halt. But the real masterpiece required Catherine Brooks, and that meant timing, precision, and just a little bit of theater. I compiled everything Dean had given me. Photos of Emma and Tyler at the Monaco, credit card statements showing Emma's lingerie purchases, bank records of the transfers, hotel receipts I'd collected from Tyler's expense reports at work, even screenshots of text messages Dean had somehow obtained. Everything bound in a neat folder with tabs and page numbers, like a legal brief prepared by someone who gave a damn about presentation. I included a simple note typed on plain paper. Mrs. Brooks, I thought you should know what your husband and my wife have been doing with both of our money. The evidence speaks for itself. I believe you'll find the financial records particularly interesting, as they show systematic transfers from my joint account to your husband's personal account over the past 6 weeks. A concerned spouse. I drove to Lake Oswego on Thursday evening, taking the scenic route through Portland's West Hills, watching the city lights spread out below like a circuit board. The Brooks house was everything I'd expected: colonial style, perfect landscaping, 3-car garage, and the kind of circular driveway that whispered old money and new power. I left the folder in Catherine's mailbox at 9 p.m., when the neighborhood was quiet and the porch lights were just coming on. No return address, no signature, no way to trace it back to me. Just a manila folder that would destroy 2 marriages and at least 3 careers. Then I went home and waited for the show to begin. Friday morning arrived with Emma's first crisis call. "Jake? Something's wrong with my credit cards. The one I used for groceries got declined, and when I called the company, they said the account was closed, and the bank says our checking account doesn't exist anymore." I was at my computer pretending to review code while actually browsing apartment listings for single men with good credit scores. "That's weird," I said, typing random characters to simulate productivity. "Maybe call customer service?" I did call customer service. Her voice had that edge it got when things weren't going according to plan. "They say I don't have access anymore. They say the account was closed by the primary holder. What's going on?" "I have no idea. I've been busy with work. Maybe it's a system error. You know how banks are with their computer systems." A pause. In the background, I could hear traffic and what sounded like a coffee shop. Emma was calling from somewhere public, probably trying to buy her morning latte and getting her card declined. The humiliation of it made me smile. Are you doing something?" she asked, and I could hear the first hint of real fear in her voice. "Like what? Like blocking my access to our money?" "Emma, you asked for space. I'm giving you space. If you're having financial issues, maybe you should talk to Tyler about it. Doesn't he make good money?" The line went quiet for a full 10 seconds. Then, "How do you know about Tyler?" I smiled at my computer screen, watching the cursor blink in my empty code editor. "Everyone knows about Tyler, Emma. Portland's not that big a city, and you two weren't exactly subtle about your Tuesday lunch dates." She hung up without another word. That afternoon, Catherine Brooks found the folder. And by Saturday morning, Tyler's world started falling apart. I was enjoying my coffee and reading the news when my front door rattled with the kind of desperate knocking that meant someone's life was ending in real time. The front door clicked open, Emma's heels on hardwood. I had 30 seconds to hide the photographs before she walked into the living room. Monday morning arrived with a kind of chaos that made my methodical planning feel like poetry in motion. I was in the office by 7, watching the show unfold through the glass walls of our conference room. Catherine Brooks had arrived at 8 sharp, requesting a private meeting with Tyler, and by 8:15, the entire executive team was involved. Tyler's face had gone pale, then red, then pale again. Catherine sat with perfect posture, a manila folder open on the table between them, speaking in low, precise tones that carried more authority than shouting ever could. Emma burst through the conference room doors at 8:30, still in yesterday's clothes, her perfect hair finally showing wear. "Tyler, what the hell is going on? Your wife called me screaming about photos and bank records." "Emma, don't." Tyler's voice cracked. "Just don't make this worse." Catherine Brooks turned to look at Emma with an expression that could freeze lava. "You must be the marketing director. I was wondering when you'd show up." The conference room went silent. Every executive was watching Emma realize her world had collapsed. "I don't know what you think you know," Emma said, but her voice lacked conviction. Catherine opened the folder and slid a photograph across the table. Even from 30 feet away, I could see it was one of the Monaco shots, Tyler and Emma in the hotel window. "I know exactly what I know," Catherine said. "The question is what you're going to do about it." Emma looked around desperately, focusing on Tyler. "Tell her it's not what it looks like." Tyler said nothing. "Tyler!" Emma's voice cracked. "Say something!" "Emma, please!" Tyler's voice was barely a whisper. "Just go." That evening, Emma cornered me in the parking garage. You did this. You destroyed everything. I clicked my car remote. Did what? The photos, the bank accounts, Catherine Brooks showing up. You orchestrated all of this. I didn't destroy anything, Emma. I just stopped funding it. That money was ours. The money you were giving to Tyler? No, that was theft. She moved closer, her face flushed with anger. I can destroy you too. I know about your consulting work. I can make sure you lose your job. Feel free to try. Tyler appeared from the stairwell, looking like a man who'd spent the day watching his life fall apart. Emma, get in the car, Tyler said. We need to talk. Talk about what? Your wife fired you. She's taking everything. Tyler looked at me with something between hatred and respect. You planned this perfectly. I didn't plan anything, I said. I just stopped being stupid. Tyler stepped toward me, hands clenched. He swung at me, sloppy, desperate. I stepped aside and let him stumble into my car door. Tyler! Emma grabbed his arm. Stop it! He swung again, and this time I didn't move. His fist caught me in the jaw. It hurt, but not as much as watching him realize that hitting me wouldn't fix anything. I rubbed my jaw and smiled. Feel better? Emma pulled out her phone, fingers flying across the screen. I'm sending emails to your boss, to HR. You'll be fired by tomorrow. She held up her phone, showing me the draft email, her finger hovering over the send button. Too bad you didn't know I'd already sent mine, I said. Emma's finger froze over her phone screen. What do you mean? I pulled out my own phone and showed her the sent folder. I sent documentation of your financial theft to HR, copies of the hotel receipts to your sister, and photos of you and Tyler to his wife, though she already had those. I also sent a complete timeline of your affair to Nicole's husband, Kevin. Emma's face went white. You didn't. I also sent a formal complaint to the State Attorney General's office about misappropriation of community funds, and I filed a police report about the unauthorized transfers from our joint account. She stared at her phone, then at me. The email to my boss remained unsent. Send it, I said. I'm curious to see if they're more upset about your accusations or about the fact that you've been stealing money to fund an affair with a company vendor. Tyler was leaning against my car now, his head in his hands. Catherine changed all the locks. Security escorted me out with a cardboard box. She's filing for divorce tomorrow and going for full custody. Emma's phone buzzed continuously. That's probably your sister calling, I said. She's been wondering where those expensive designer clothes came from. I sent her copies of the credit card statements. Emma's hands shook as she tried to answer, but it went to voicemail. Or maybe that's Nicole's husband, Kevin. Turns out he's a forensic accountant and he's very good at tracking lies. She tried another number, but that went straight to voicemail too. You know what's funny? I said, getting into my car. I was going to forgive you. When I first found out, I thought maybe we could work it out. Emma moved toward my car door, but I started the engine. But then I realized you weren't just cheating on me. You were stealing from me, using my money to fund a relationship designed to replace me. Jake, please. You were going to use me as your safety net while you auditioned for a better life. But you don't get a safety net anymore, Emma. You get to find out what space actually costs. I drove away, watching Emma stand in the parking garage, surrounded by the ruins of every relationship she'd counted on. 3 days later, my phone rang from an unknown number. I was walking down the waterfront, enjoying the sunset. Jake? Emma's voice was small, desperate. It's me. I'm at a payphone. My cell service got cut off. I lost my job, she continued, and my apartment. Nicole won't return my calls, and my sister says I can't stay with her. Tyler's at some motel, but he doesn't have any money either. I kept walking toward home. I don't have anywhere to go, she said, her voice breaking. I've been sitting in my car for 2 days, but I can't afford gas anymore. Jake, are you there? I hung up the phone, dropped it in my pocket, and kept walking toward home.